The Calgary Police Service is warning international students studying in Calgary about an elaborate virtual kidnapping scam targeting students and their families. The service has seen 2 confirmed cases of this scam, which has previously been reported in British Columbia since the beginning of May. Due to the nature of the scam and the significant number of police resources that become involved in responding to a kidnapping incident, CPS would like to make Calgarians aware of this. As with other similar virtual kidnapping cases in other jurisdictions, the offenders use sophisticated fraud techniques to pose as law enforcement officials and to threaten the victim with arrest or deportation to gain compliance. Offenders directed the victim to get rid of all communication devices and credit cards, which could be traced, making it impossible for the family members to reach them. At the same time, scammers were contacting the victim's family to make their ransom demands. Scammers are known to send videos of the kidnapping victim appearing under duress to their family members in an effort to provide more legitimacy to the ransom demand. These videos are often edited from videos that scammers have taken while posing as the government officials. Scammers use aggressive techniques when dealing with victims and their families, and red flags should include forcing the victim to stay on the phone for hours at a time and making sure the victims don't tell anyone who they're speaking with, spoofing phone numbers to look like they are coming from the government, law enforcement, or embassy officials, convincing victims to leave work and school immediately without explanation, make large cash withdrawals and pack suitcases and leave their residence immediately. International students and families and friends of people studying abroad of Calgary should be aware of the above red flags. Anyone who believes they are caught up in one of these scams should please contact the Calgary Police Service. Good, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Do you have any idea who the people behind these scams are? Do you have information about where they come from? Are they here?
So it's our belief that it's happening outside of Calgary, outside of Canada, and that this is very similar to something like the Canada Revenue Agency scam, where it's happening overseas.
How much money are they asking? Is it in the like 5,000s or like in the millions of dollars?
It's in a considerable amount of money.
Can you speak to the language barrier sometimes with international students and and law enforcement? Sometimes they may not be aware, and how that, I guess, exacerbates the whole situation.
For sure. So language barrier becomes an issue on a couple levels. Obviously, speaking with family members over in whatever country we're speaking with them, but also obviously when they're in Canada and aren't familiar with their Canada customs and cultural norms, it makes it difficult to understand that the police are your friend and that we're here to help, and that in essence we want to find that peaceful resolution for them. So obviously it does play a big part in this.
In terms of the trauma this causes the family and obviously the student, can you speak to a little bit about that? I know that we're not able to speak to these guys, but you guys work closely with them. How are they handling all this?
Well, it's very traumatic, obviously, for both the family and for the person involved. Ironically, the victim, as we'll call them, or the asset in Canada or in Calgary in this situation, they don't know that they're actively participating in their own kidnapping. They're under a form of mental duress and psychological persuasion, and so they're actually playing a role in the kidnapping, not knowing that they're making it tougher for the police to actually get to the bottom of this. So the duress it puts the family in is unbelievable, to the fact that they're willing to pay large, considerable amounts of money to get their children back.
Is this the first time you guys have ever seen anything like this, or have you seen, I guess, virtual kidnappings like this in the past?
These were the first 2 in Calgary that we've had. We know that in BC they've had quite a few, and what they've done in essence is they've kind of compiled the best of a whole bunch of scams into one. They've taken some of the CRA scam, the immigration scam, the benefits of telemarketing, and the benefits of obviously the internet, and they've kind of compiled it all together, and this is what they've concocted out of it, and it's made it very effective.
Now, you mentioned there's been cases like this in BC. Do you have any indication that they're happening anywhere else in Canada or maybe anywhere else in the world?
It's my understanding from doing some research that they are happening other places, but I can't speak specifically to where those are.
So now that it's come and made its way to Alberta, I mean, is this situation getting worse, or how do you get the situation under control so that there are no other victims out there?
It's a good question. Part of the reason we're doing, obviously, the news release is to make people aware of what's happening. We ask that when you get in a situation like this, use some critical thought and go outside of what's been volunteered. Often in these instances, they're telling you to go to certain websites that have been created by them to make you believe further into the storyline of what's happening. Take that time to independently research what's going on. Google some of the scams that are happening because they're well documented on the internet. And so this piece of awareness is what we're trying to do to get ahead of it.
And is that what you guys are saying to the community, to the Chinese community as well? Like, are there any more efforts to try to communicate with that community a little bit more, given what's happened, just to educate them more?
There is. We're working with our partner agencies as well. Obviously, the University of Calgary, the RCMP, the Consulate General of the People's Republic of China, to make sure that everyone's kind of on the same page for this and that the information is getting out to everyone involved.
Can you speak to the first case or about this, where, like, what happened there? Was it a similar story with this University of Calgary student? It
was very similar. If you actually look at the template of the virtual kidnapping, it fit it to a T. Without giving too many details on the specifics to protect the privacy of the people involved, it met that mold, and we could see that something was kind of brewing there, and it allowed us obviously to investigate and to peacefully resolve it.
And in BC, the scam was kind of the opposite, where they were targeting the person, they're calling the student and telling them, they're your family overseas. Are you seeing that this is kind of the new trend here?
I think what happens in these situations is whoever's speaking with the person on the phone in Canada, they have a storyline, and whatever they can get the person in Canada to bite on is the way the storyline goes. And so they have a whole bunch of different avenues that they can go with for each storyline, depending on the vulnerability of the person.
What social media account is it?
It's our understanding that it is WeChat.
I was told that I could ask questions about the triple stabbing last night. Is there any information you can provide us beyond what's already been told, I guess? Do we know anything about the perpetrator? Is there a suspect in custody? Anything like that right now?
It's an active investigation, obviously, right now, and it is a serious investigation, and so there's not a lot I can disclose at this time.
Okay. No idea about any motivation or anything like that right now?
Unfortunately, no.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And do you want to hold tight for the